This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla in the new Full Battle Rattle Studios.
Always be proud of what your parents and teachers taught you. What they taught you is their gift to you, and what you do with it is your gift to them.
From reading, writing, and arithmetic to reading, writing, and is that Rita or Rick? Target is allowing anyone in any bathroom. That's bad enough. Now, some schools are allowing students to change in locker rooms with the opposite sex. One school in Pennsylvania is catching heat for allowing this, and instead of using common sense, they're blaming the brave student who stood up and spoke out against the madness. Today, Carla is here. She's a host, an author, and a great friend of this program. Carla is also the president of the Berks Republican Women in Pennsylvania, and that group has issued a big call to action. Stay tuned for this important episode of the Palin Update. Our children's privacy and safety is on the line. Plus, we'll have the latest national and Alaska headlines and Sarah Palin news. We'll visit the Crow's Nest with Tanya Crow in California. Also from the Golden State, Kelly Carlson is on target. And a brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert coming up from Texas. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. The Palin Update is sponsored by Full Battle Rattle. Full Battle Rattle, helping veterans suffering from combat-related disabilities through the healing power of music. Learn more at facebook.com/Full Battle Rattle ABQ. A call to action in Pennsylvania after a school allows students to change in a locker room with the opposite sex. Republican women are standing up and fighting back. Berks Republican Women have issued a call to action after a high school locker room policy put our kids and community in danger. Today we talk all about it with our friend, author, host, and president of Berks Republican Women, Carla. Carla, welcome back. You're always such a great guest.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting times.
And you have not been shy about standing up for not just all Americans, but really our children and protecting student privacy and the privacy of children and really the safety of children. And now you're Berks Republican Women. That's in Berks County, Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, are leading the charge here, really, a call to action about really some scary stuff that's going on. Tell us first what's happening, and then tell us what your Republican group of women are doing to combat it.
So what happened a few days ago here in the great state of Pennsylvania in our Commonwealth is that we are seeing the first of its kind lawsuit right here. What's happening is there was a boy changing in his locker room, all boys locker room, right, which we've had for thousands of years. Boys are one place, girls are another place for private things like bathroom use and changing. And the school that I'm discussing is Boyertown Area High School. So this boy is changing in his all boys locker room, and he turns around and he sees a girl in her bra. And he quickly gets dressed and he goes to find the adult in the area. And he's told by them that, listen, she's allowed to be in there. She is transitioning, to a male. She feels like a male. She identifies as a male, and we're allowing her to be in that all-boys locker room. With that, they said to him, just go back and act natural, which is kind of funny, Kevin, because he did act natural. The natural thing for a boy to do
Very well
changing,
said. Yeah.
And he turns around and he sees a girl in her bra, is to go and get an adult, which this adult clearly is just as confused as this poor little girl who thinks that she's a boy. And they tell him, basically just deal with it, tolerate it, act natural. They say things to him like, you can use the nurse's area if you wish to get changed. He brings his parents back in. They discuss this with the principal, vice principal, and the superintendent of the school. And the parents are also told, listen, he needs to tolerate this. He needs to act natural. He can use the nurse's area, or you can homeschool him. So what we're seeing happening is these kids, they're standing up for their privacy, which I applaud. Joel Doe is what we're calling this young man, Joel Doe, to keep anonymity. But I applaud him. He's a hero. He's standing up not only for his privacy and modesty and respect, but every kid's modesty, privacy, and respect. that wishes to change in a sex-specific bathroom. This is a right that we have, a God-given right, a natural right to change in front of people of the same sex. Why they are putting our kids of opposite sex in locker rooms to change in front of each other, this would have been known as child abuse a year ago.
Well, and this case in particular is very interesting, too, because of the fact that it is a boy who reported it, and this time a girl in the locker room. You hear it a lot the other ways, and I know you've been a voice for reason in the whole Target bathroom situations and other things that we've heard on the national spectrum. Right. But this sheds the light too, that, some of our sons are, are under attack, too, here. It's not just our daughters that have to fear this craziness.
Absolutely. And, we always, obviously, as women, we're battling for women. I firmly believe that this LGBTQ agenda is a war on women. I think that women are most harmed by this policy that we're seeing pop up across private companies and now in public schools. But boys absolutely do not like it either. Listen, do you remember when you were in high school? I didn't like getting changed in front of other girls. Right. Let alone there's a boy in my locker room.
Sure, the football, the whole football thing. We had an assistant coach that he was very much on us showering there, and a lot of us just we preferred throwing the sweats on and doing it at home. And this is with all your buddies.
Of course,
yeah,
of course, because puberty in that age is already a difficult time. You're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too tall, you have the wrong underwear on. It's cooler to wear this kind of underwear. And now, really, we're putting opposite sex in the locker rooms with our kids. It's absolutely preposterous. So a lawsuit has been filed against Boyertown Area High School in Berks County. And so Berks Republican Women, since this is a high school that is in our county, feels really called, like it is our duty to stand and defend the privacy of all students, males, females. We want sex-specific locker rooms for our kids. Listen, these kids are going to school to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. They do not need to be indoctrinated with whatever the political agenda is or whatever the political propaganda popular thing to do is at the moment. That's right. Not why I send my children to school. That's not why you send your kids to school. So we're really calling on all citizens in Berks County, surrounding area, even if you don't have children in Boyertown Area High School, even if you don't live in Berks County, we're asking in the regional area that you just write a quick email. All of this information is up on berksrepublicanwomen.com, berksrepublicanwomen.com. You can go there and see our call for action, but we're asking the people just write a quick email to the school board, and all this information's up there, the address and everything. Write a quick email to the board saying simply this: we are asking the board to correct the actions of the superintendent and the administration, and that you return locker rooms to sex specific. Thank you for your service to our kids. Respectfully, whatever your name is. Really, it's that simple. It's that easy. And honestly, we really do empathize with these kids who have gender confusion, gender dysphoria. That's what's going on, and we are not helping these children, the little girls that think they're boys, by playing along and pretending that they are boys. Biologically, their DNA screams out that they are little girls. The kind and loving things to do for these little girls that are having confusion about being little boys is really the parents, the adults in their lives, need to sit them down and share truth with them, that they are uniquely, wonderfully made. DNA screams that they are women, that they are girls. This little girl is the only little girl that looks like she does, acts like she does, is going to be able to do what she does. And she needs to embrace that. When my 3-year-old little girl wanted to be a little dog, and she wanted me to call her Fido, and she walked around and she barked. And, I played along with that for a little while, but she can't be a dog. She cannot identify as a dog because she's not a dog. So it's the same thing here. There are two sexes. There are two genders. We're not going to play this game that Facebook wants us to, that there's 58 genders. When you read through some of these definitions, Kevin, it does make you giggle a little bit.
It's just
makes you giggle because It starts out with agender, and it gives the definition. Agender is without gender at all. This is someone whom does not identify as a boy or a girl, doesn't identify as a female or a male. Well, I ask you, Kevin, which bathroom and locker room and athletic team does the agender play on, right? Yeah. This is the slippery slope that we fall into, so I firmly believe that the criteria needs to be for using bathrooms, locker rooms, and athletic teams, whatever your biological sex is, whatever your DNA is stamped, whatever your cells are stamped. So again, just a call to action, Boyertown Area High School. We're calling on all citizens. This is a bipartisan issue because, listen, we all want to protect our children. No one wants to harm children. Some of us are misguided, but every one of us needs to link arms on this and protect the privacy of all children. And you know what, Kevin? This little boy, Joel Doe, as we're calling him, why should the moral responsibility on this fall on his shoulders? That's another issue here. Why should this fall on him during his school day where he just wants to go and learn reading, writing, arithmetic, study geography, learn a language? Why does he have to stand up for this? Well, why does he have to decide what this looks like?
First off, Carla, the Berks Republican women, I need to be commended here because, one, the fact that you're called the Berks Republican women, this isn't just a conservative group or a Tea Party group. This is a Republican group. And in a day and age with what we just saw with this whole healthcare nonsense where Republicans continue to cave or don't even go after issues like this, I give you ladies a lot of credit that you're fighting an issue that's important for our children and stepping up here and putting your organization's name on the line, doing it, a la Palin, a la Trump. A lot of people, wouldn't do that.
It's our duty.
But as far as the boy who stepped up here, yeah, I mean, what you said about what administration told him, going to the nurse's room, all this other nonsense, he's being told to assimilate for something that he's seeing that is in the very small minority of this country, and he has to assimilate, not unlike how they want us to assimilate for illegal immigration or everything else. This is the mindset of the left. It's everyone who is American and has American values and really common sense. Well, you better take a back seat when things get weird because that's what has to happen. And you're right. He does deserve major credit here. And, kudos to his parents because obviously you probably don't get this way if you have a couple of duds at home.
No, absolutely not. He has very courageous parents, and his parents have taught him extremely well. They have taught him truth. They have taught him logic, and they've taught him common sense. Which I know is something that you're teaching to your kids and I'm teaching to mine as well. But it's interesting that the left, the liberals, the LGBTQ, how hypocritical they are, because if we were saying to the LGBTQ, IA plus, I mean, they're adding letters every day, Kevin.
Yes.
If we were saying to them, hey, listen, you need to go and use your own bathroom or the nurse's area, they would be screaming bloody murder, would they not be? Yet they're discriminating against this young man who has the right to be in his all-boys locker room. And they're saying, yeah, you're going to stand out. You need to go and change. You need to go and use the special bathroom. Absolutely not. I say no to that.
And this is another great example of the left, again, using their narrative depending on what the particular battle is that day and then changing it the next day. You look at here in this case, they're telling you basically gender means nothing. You could be any of the 58 Facebook flavors you want, so on and so forth. Yet we just came off an election where we were told that we must elect a woman. It's very important. So when they need sex and gender to be for them, it's the end all be all, but when a kid's trying to go to gym class, well, now we're going to impose on you, buddy. It's really sick and out there, and especially when we have what just happened in London and what's really important in our world and in our nation. These serve as at best as a distraction to and at worst to an infringement and a danger to our children. So there's really no good answer other than to say enough's enough.
Right. That's exactly correct. And that's where every parent, every citizen, every child needs to be, where we say enough is enough. isn't it a sad state of affairs when there's only one little boy that stands up and not all 50 boys in that gym class, right? So, and here's the other thing, too, that's really interesting. You have this young boy, and they are saying, he needs to do the natural thing and let this woman change in front of him with her bra on. And why didn't he know that she was a transgender? Well, does she have transgender stamped on her forehead?
Right.
Does it say agender? Does it say pansexual? Does it say non-binary? I mean, I can go on. It's not even 58 anymore. I was reading an article the other day that said that, yes, did you know that men can menstruate? We call them trans menstruators. And I thought, wow, that must be number 59.
And see, I thought I was just I thought I was just pouting that my team lost and I ate Mexican, but perhaps I was menstruating.
Yes.
I got to tell you, what you're doing here, it's local to your state, it's local to your county, but this is really a national issue and a great example of one going on here. But the good news is the Berks Republican women are standing up and fighting, and this is really a good story in that way. We really want people to understand what's happening, what your call to action is. She's Carla Dedesi. She's a radio host, a great author, and the president of the Berks Republican Women who are fighting against this. A call to action with our students' privacy and really safety on the line in Pennsylvania. Carla, we wish you the best with this and keep us posted, okay?
Thank you. Please go to berksrepublicanwomen.com because all the information is there. We have until April 4th to email and write letters to the school board at Berks County. And also, Kevin, this is a really great time for families to kind of check in on their own districts and say, what is the bathroom policy? What are you doing there? And also, if their school is maintaining and keeping sex-specific locker rooms and bathrooms, applaud them on it. Say thank you. We agree with you. We get behind you on this. Because guess what, Kevin? There are way more of us out there than there are of the other side. There are millions of us that want to maintain sex-specific bathrooms. Thanks for having me.
And the other thing, too, to remember, folks, you do this before it happens because once these things are in place, we see a president of the United States can't even do much with activist judges ruling one way, 1 out of 100. So when you get things like this, they talk about that word precedent that they like to throw around. Once things are in place, they're harder to change. So you have to fight for it now. Carla, you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
For more, visit BerksRepublicanWomen.com. That's Berks, BERKS, RepublicanWomen.com. Now it's time for Sarah Palin News, headlines, and more about Governor Palin. Remembering American pioneer Chuck Berry. A list of the differences between conservatives and liberals. A happy 16th birthday to Piper Palin. What the 2016 election really boiled down to. A new Sesame Street character is a big hit. Congratulations to Eric and Laura Trump as Team Trump is expanding. It's time for Comey to go. A special tribute to the awesome Trig Palin on Down Syndrome Day. Acosta cuts a deal with a sex abuse perv. Proof of a double standard from our friend Ted Nugent. Palin on the London terror attack. Senator Grassley adds some heartland common sense to the latest D.C. drama. A nice honor for Gary Sinise. The Palins get an American Badass Grill compliments of Kid Rock. Honoring Medal of Honor recipients, including Palin's son-in-law, Sergeant Dakota Meyer. Chicago residents standing up to Rahm. And Governor Palin features my new article on Joy Villa, the singer and artist braved Hollywood wearing a Trump Make America Great Again dress at the Grammys. Thank you, Governor Palin, for showcasing my piece on Joy Villa. To read about all of these stories, visit the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. And to see any of the governor's posts in their entirety and to read her devotionals, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and don't miss the new sarahpalin.com. Now let's head to the crow's nest. Here's Tanya Crow.
Thanks, Kevin. So this week, I spent my spring break with my daughter in Yucca, Arizona on a dude ranch. It was pretty awesome on so many levels. On the ride back, it's about 6.5 hours long. There's this huge long stretch of highway through the desert, and it is just magnificent. And I was just looking out on the vast landscape that we have. How amazing this country really is. It is a one-of-a-kind place, And our history, our young history, is compared to other places, but there's just so much that has happened in that brief time. And to think that there was a consciousness and intent by people to come to this land and to be creators, to be builders, to be innovators, to be of service to one another, to build communities and families that could dream and make those dreams come true. The United States of America, we as a country, as a land, as a people, are something special. And there is an exceptionalism to this place. Everything and anything that we can do to preserve what we have is of the utmost importance to me, to my family, and I know to so many of you out there. And I just wanted to take a few moments this week to give praise and thankfulness to that truth. This is Tanya Crow with Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tanya Crow on Mama Grizzly Radio. More from the Crow's Nest next week. Now, on Target with Kelly Carlson.
Thanks, Kevin. So last weekend, I became certified as an NRA Range Safety Officer. And I am so glad I did this. And I recommend anybody doing this because these type of certifications in the civilian world do matter. And I'll get to that in a minute. But the training was excellent. And some of the things that were shown to me, you know, most people with firearms are going to know a lot of this. But there's other finer details that they focus on, which are so important. And one of them really is communication with people that are handling firearms. Let's say if they have a malfunction or something. New students can be nervous. How do you approach them when they have a firearm in their hand? What is the tone of your voice? Are they nervous? Your awareness level is heightened, obviously. But I really appreciated the amount of time they spent on communication with people, because if you're an RSO, you know, a lot of times there's a separate instructor who's instructing, but you're gonna assist in ways that you're gonna have you'll be hands-on with some of the students. Also communicating just, you know, the safety briefing. You know, your energy, your attitude really sets the tone for the people in the class, or, you know, the experience that they're going to have. I love how they focused on that, because I do think that that's so important. Another thing that I learned were other sort of hazards at ranges. And here's what was great. We went out to a couple ranges and we had to point out some hazards. Because just because somebody has a firing range, indoor, outdoor, doesn't mean that it's up to par. It doesn't mean that the people there are taking the proper safety precautions. One of them we went to, the ventilation is really, really bad. Another one, there was steel plates just sitting on the side of the range. So that is a serious ricochet hazard. Not everybody hits their target. You know, it was things like that you may or may not take notice of, but you always, at least I always assume, for the most part, ranges are operating in an optimal fashion. But this shows you that that's not always the case, and to be aware of it. And of course, we had to present how we would fix it, what we would do, you know, all sorts of things like that. Another one is just mitigating injury whether it's most injuries are like heat exhaustion, if it's an outdoor range, people slip and fall on shell casings a lot. It's stuff, those are the other considerations you think about, but when you think of emergency, you think of somebody has a gunshot wound. And yes, they do absolutely cover that. But I never thought of putting together a kit with, extra electrolytes, you know, um, the simple things, when you're at an outdoor range, or flares if you're out in the desert and you don't have communication. You pre-plan ahead, and we don't always do that. We just don't. We rely on our cell phones. So, but on top of all of that, the reason why I thought this was important to me, was perception. And I will debate Second Amendment issue quite often, publicly and privately. And I think that for all of us who support Second Amendment rights, it's important to have these type of certifications and credentials. Why? Because it helps remove that argument against us about, trigger happy people, carelessness, anything. When you say, oh, I'm actually a range safety officer, it shows that it is important to you that you care about yourself and everyone else in the room. Not that that's their angle, they just want to take guns away. But it helps your foundation and your argument, because you are a responsible individual and you take the time to get the proper training. That's where your mind is at. And so I'm actually really looking forward to the next debate I have, because that just gives me more credibility. It just takes the they like to project the bad guy onto you, and it just it protects me from that. Well, no, I actually, safety is the number one most important thing to me with a firearm, and it is for you. It diffuses them, on top of the actual training that I actually recommend to everybody, because the NRA really is about safety. They're huge on safety, and they don't get a lot of credit for it. So anyways, that's my take. I highly recommend it. It was excellent training, and I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to become an RSO. This is Kelly Carlson for Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tune in for more On Target next week. Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Colbert.
This week's epic fail, that is the failure of Speaker Paul Ryan to do what he campaigned on since 2010, which was to fully repeal Obamacare, is on his hands. He owns the mess. Not Trump, Paul Ryan. Why is that? He's not a leader. He's out of solutions. He doesn't understand what self-governance is all about. There is not one word in Obamacare that is constitutional. We have a massive administrative state that will not relinquish its power, and certainly not willingly. We saw that on full display this week with Republicans who would rather have parts of Obamacare than to fully repeal it. And Lord only knows why they didn't stick the 2015 bill that passed both the House and the Senate back on President Trump's desk. That would have been the full repeal. We also have a deep state trying to bring down our new president from the inside. So the failed leadership at the legislative branch means that those folks outside of the Liberty Caucus have forgotten what self-governance is really all about. They are now only caring about the re-election, not the people that they promised to serve. Think about it. It's like spring training for the baseball, right? Why do they do spring training? Well, because the players come back to refresh themselves on the fundamentals of the game, to sharpen their skills, learn new techniques, regain their strength, build it up for working together for the season ahead. It's time for the Congress, the legislative branch specifically. They're in desperate need of some spring training because they need to relearn the fundamentals of service and self-governance. Meanwhile, the Convention of States project in less than a week has had 2 states pass their Article 5 resolutions calling for fiscal restraint, limiting the size, scope, and jurisdiction of the federal government, and term limits on federal officials, such as judges. Arizona and North Dakota are fired up for liberty. These 2 states became the 9th and 10th states, respectively, to join this national call for an amending convention to talk about how we can fix the federal structure under this identical resolution. And Senator Mike Lee had an incredible post this week that exemplifies why we need to unite our states and convene to discuss making America great again from outside that beltway. He wrote, quote, 6 of our nation's 10 wealthiest counties are now suburbs of D.C. This notwithstanding the fact it is not a banking hub, nor an area that manufactures anything. It's not a technological innovation hub. It's not the home of any vast store of natural resources. No, the money is here because the power is here, concentrated in the hands of just a few elites. So in that respect, it should come as no surprise that there are people who spend an extraordinary amount of money trying to make sure they can get access to that power. When a power controls as much of the economy as it does, so as much of the lives and livelihoods as it does, there are people willing, whether they are rich or poor or somewhere in between, to invest a whole lot of money in trying to influence government. So I wonder, why is it that we are slow to ask the question, why do we allow this much power to be accumulated in government? Why do we allow this much of our government to be based in Washington rather than closer with the people? And why within Washington do we allow so much of that power to be accumulated in the hands of a few within the administrative regulatory state? Yes, thank you, Senator Mike Lee. Awesome. Was there anything more exclamatory to emphasize why we need a convention of states than that statement by Senator Mike Lee? The people. It's about us. In less than a decade, in fact, 7 short years, millions of Americans have re-educated themselves on our founding principles. We've gotten our own spring training, if you will, on self-governance, re-educated ourselves about the Constitution, our inalienable rights, and what we, the people, want. We want to decide. The fight, folks, is not inside the Beltway. Don't be mistaken by the evening news. We, the people, need to fight, but only the fight is in our state legislatures. The fight is in our House districts, in who we elect to our state legislatures. It's time for us to keep our eye on the ball and reclaim self-governance and restore the rule of law and the Constitution. There has never been a more exciting time to be alive in America. We are on the brink of the refounding of the Republic, and I believe the Convention of States project is leading on that front. We are the largest grassroots Article 5 organization in the nation with more than 2.2 million activists. This is the most viable, radical, and yet legal constitutional way to reform the federal government. And we don't care if no one on Capitol Hill is listening or paying attention or caring about we the people. I actually hope they go along with their little business being chauffeured to work and enjoying their parties and expensive booze, because along the way, the people have woken up. The people are working. We are walking the halls of our state capitals. We are meeting with legislators, and we are conducting our own open houses and training on the Constitution and what Article 5 means and how you and I get to use it against the federal government and put them finally once and for all back into the tiny constitutional box they came from. Join me today at conventionofstates.com and let me know what you think by tweeting me at Tamara Colbert, #MamaGrizRadio. The only way, folks, we are going to save the Republic is together. It's we the people. We the people are the most powerful force in America today. Don't be mistaken. And certainly don't listen to the snowflakes and the evening news coming at you from the mainstream media outlets. We can so do this. It's exciting. It's awesome. And this is the best time to be alive in our nation. Don't forget it. Have a blessed week. I'm Tamara Colbert for Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tamara Colbert in Texas. Tune in for more Liberty and Legacy next week. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy, On Target, and The Crow's Nest, is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook and follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Tamara Colbert, at Tanya Yoga 13, and at FBR ABQ. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I'm also contributing to SarahPalin.com. Please check out my latest piece this week. Honored to be working on the governor's new site. I want to thank Tamara Colbert, Tanya Crow, Kelly Carlson, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Carla Dedesi, and thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, Full Battle Rattle. Visit Facebook.com/Full Battle Rattle ABQ. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lori Ann Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update right here on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.